Okay, folks, we're going to get started in about 1 minute, maybe even sooner than that. So if you're in the back or you're in the aisles, I'd ask you to please find a seat, and we will get started momentarily. So you know where she is. Janice is on the left coming down. So you know where she is. Janice. Okay, everyone, good evening and welcome to the District 2 Town Hall Forum on the budget. We're very pleased that you could make it here to Glen Burnie High School tonight, and we're happy to have you with us. What we're going to do tonight is we're going to have some brief opening remarks from the county executive and the council member. Then there's a very short presentation that the county executive will go through, and then we'll have public comment from the audience. We're giving everybody who wants to speak 3 minutes, and I'm in charge of keeping time. And then we'll have closing remarks and everyone can go home. So with that, I'd like to invite up for opening remarks Councilwoman from District 2, Allison Pickard.
Thank you, Mr. Trumbauer. Welcome, everyone. It's great to see some new faces and some old friends in the audience. I want to thank County Executive Pittman for organizing the budget town halls this evening. It's vital that we all engage. And I feel it's really important that he's taken this conversation to every corner of the county. So I welcome him here to Glen Burnie High School and to District 2. I want you to know that as your representative on the county council, it's my honor and privilege to serve and represent you. I want to introduce Kristen Etzel, if she could stand. Kristen is my legislative assistant for District 2. And we're here to work with you, not just about budget priorities, but on county issues on a daily basis as well. So reach out to us. It's a cold night tonight. It's funny that it's March and it's still freezing, but it is really great that you're here. And as we talk about budget priorities tonight, it's important to remember that budgets aren't just numbers on a spreadsheet. The county budget represents our values. So I'm really interested to listen to what you have to say tonight, and I hope to learn what your priorities are for our district. Thank you.
And now it's my pleasure to introduce the 10th County Executive for Anne Arundel County, Stuart Pittman.
I haven't been introduced as the 10th since the inauguration. Anyway, I guess that's what I am. So it's great to be here. This is number 3 of 7 budget town halls that we're doing. And I was out here during the campaign. I'll be back again during the process that we're doing for the general development plan, but we won't talk about that tonight. We're going to do a whole nother series of 17 meetings on that. But I feel as though if I spend all my time in the office and don't get out into the neighborhoods and hear what people have to say, that I will fall asleep and the job won't be much fun, but I won't be listening to what people want and what people need. So I'm really happy to be out here. I actually enjoy these and hearing what people have to say. The voters in 2016 passed a charter amendment in Anne Arundel County that requires the county executive, before producing a budget, to do some hearings to get some input. And it requires 2 of those. We thought 7 was a better number, especially because we have a new county council. And I want to make sure that I'm hearing the same thing they're hearing from the citizens. And so we're doing them together. And it's a great honor to be here with Councilwoman Allison Pickard, who is the vice chair of our county council. And she's, I think, a great representative, a fierce advocate for her district and everything, Old Mill, that's going on here. I see the signs. So let's do these slides. Let's start with the first one. I want to jump right into this. But as we started, I just want to point out what the obvious, which is that Anne Arundel County has been growing by about 10% every decade. That's about 1% a year. A lot of growth. The student population of Anne Arundel County has grown even faster than the rest of the population. The call volume, just the call volume for fire and EMS has grown by 5% a year. You may be hearing that. I know there's some firefighters in the audience and others. And when you think about that, it's a lot of growth. And traffic, of course, comes with that. That's why people are late and straggling in late. That's what took us a long time to get up Ritchie Highway. But traffic has become unbearable in a lot of areas, and we haven't kept up with that. And, you know, taxes are part of that. The one that really burns me is that the impact fees that we charge to developers to cover the costs of the impact of the growth, you know, we decided in 2009, after a consultant gave us some numbers, that we shouldn't charge as much as the consultant said. We shouldn't charge the full impact. So the budget office has been keeping track of the revenue that we didn't get from the developers during the time since we made that decision. And just on roads alone, we would have had $107 million since 2009 in impact fee revenue to deal with some of the traffic issues. So I think that it's, you know, this is an important time for the county where we have to make some decisions about how we're going to catch up. We're talking about schools, we're talking about public safety, we're talking about infrastructure, and so we have to decide whether to invest in our county at this point. There is going to be a report coming out in a couple of weeks that comes out every few years for Anne Arundel County called Poverty Amidst Plenty, and it shows what's going on in the county in terms of income and costs of living. And I'm very sensitive to the fact that it's not a great place to be poor. It's not a great place to be low income. Housing costs are through the roof, and public transportation almost does not exist. So we have to be really careful about where money comes from in this county. The folks that are making over $200,000 a year, that population has grown in Anne Arundel County, and that's great. But we have to be cognizant of the fact that the middle class is disappearing, and folks are struggling in this county. We're going to talk about taxes and revenue because you can't talk about spending without talking about revenue. And I just want to point out that whatever we do, it's my goal to make it work in a way that the folks that have money pay more and the folks that don't have money pay less or don't pay an increase. I mean, we know what happened with the tax cut that happened last year that the federal government did, and most of the benefits to that went to the corporations and the people at the very top, and that's where the money is these days. So let's start with number one. Can barely see it. The timeline, we're right here in March, and where the circle is, and the stuff that's happened before has been mostly within the departments, people putting together their budget requests. While we're doing these budget hearings through the month of March, I'm going to be hearing, starting in about a week, from the different departments that are all each going to come in, and they're going to tell us what it costs to continue the programs that they have, and then some of them are going to have ideas for what they call supplementals, which is additional funding that they're going to request for additional projects, and that's where we have to decide yes or no. And then at the May 1st is the end of our hard work in my office, where we actually present a budget to the county council. And from there on, the county council takes it, and they'll have additional hearings, and they can make further adjustments, and you can have more input after that. Next slide. So real quick, the revenues to the county, property taxes are the largest in blue. Income taxes are the next in orange, it looks like from here. And the other slivers are much smaller, and those are fees and things like impact fees and smaller revenue sources. Next one. And then the money goes 50%, 51% for education, K through 12. And everything else, public safety comes next. Most of the government departments are up in that top section that comes in third place, and everything else is much smaller. But we'll be talking about education a lot tonight, I'm sure. Next slide. So, And education, of course, includes debt service, which we have there at 81 million. Most of it is operating, 680, so I can't quite see at this angle, 87. And then we have school health and school safety as well. And that's what gets us up to that 51%. Next one. We have a budget tool online. If you go to the AnneArundelCounty.org and you go to the county executive page, you'll find information about the budget, some of these slides and things, but you'll also find a tool where you can go in, and these are items with prices on them. I would point out that a police officer doesn't cost $100,000. It's each of these is what it costs, not only for the salary, but also the benefits and also the equipment. So that includes police car. But you can go into this tool and you can put together your own budget. You can pretend you're the county executive, and as you add things, it turns red and you have to come up with revenue. So you can play with the revenue side, you can play with the cost side, and make your own budget. More estimates of costs. You can see what schools cost there, I think. Yes, 50 million for an elementary school, 100 million for a middle school, and 150 for a high school, approximately. Next. Rough numbers, right? Okay, fiscal expectations. So this is the bad news, really. I was hoping to come into office and find out that revenues are increasing. We know they are increasing in a good economy by pretty close to $50 million a year. The bad news is that there are obligations that we have that are new each year, and this year it's pretty close to 40 million. I wish it was 1,000. And that includes new debt service on the stuff that we buy or build in our capital improvement budget, and it includes health benefits and other benefits for employees, and raises the things that we have to pay no matter what. So the bottom line is that we don't have a whole lot of extra revenue for new programs without creating revenue. Next slide. And then we have comparisons of Anne Arundel to other counties. And this one, I can't even see at the angle, but we're in the yellow. This is the property tax rate. So our property tax rate is just over 90 cents per $100 of value. There are a handful of counties below us that are the more rural counties, and then there are some counties that go up. Baltimore City is way up there in the stratosphere, so we're lucky we don't live there, but in terms of taxes. But you can see there's a range. Next. This is an interesting one. This is the history of the property tax rate in Anne Arundel County, and some of you have heard about this thing called the property tax revenue cap. And it started in '92. If you go back to 1990, our tax rate was just over $1 for about 10 cents more than it is now per $100 of value. And it's fluctuated with the economy. So the way the tax cap works is that we're not allowed to collect more than a certain amount of property tax. So as our tax base grows, the rate comes down. We're allowed to go up by the rate of inflation each year, or 4.5%, but it's usually the rate of inflation each year. But the value of the property in the county goes up faster than the rate of inflation. So that means, in a good economy, so that means the rate comes down. Next slide. And we've got circled here 4 years where most years what happens when they do the budget is that they charge a property tax rate that's the maximum allowed under the revenue cap. And so the revenue cap is really setting our property tax rate. Those 4 years were years where the county went lower than the actual cap. I would note they're all election years. They're years where somebody was trying to get reelected. Didn't work in the last one. But you can note that you can note that every time you don't go to that ceiling, that lowers the level that year, and that lowers the level in future years because you're only allowed to go up the rate of inflation from the previous year. So if you go down 1 year, you're going down every year after that. And from those 4 times, it's really the 3 that we didn't go to the ceiling. In future years, it ended up costing us, I can't quite see it, but it's $400 and something million in revenue. Next slide. And then the income tax, which is slightly smaller than property tax in terms of total money to the county, where we rank compared to other counties. I think there's 2 below us. So we're at 2.5%. It's a piggyback that when you pay your taxes, it goes on top of your state tax, income tax bill. there's a state law that says nobody's allowed to go above 3.2%. So you can see at the right-hand side that there are 7, I think, counties, they're the big 7 in central Maryland mostly, that have gone to the maximum, and then there are ones in between. And we're lucky, we're at 2.5. Those are there so that, so that if we're going to have a conversation about revenue, we know what the options are. Impact fees I mentioned already. My view is that they should go up for the developers that are building stuff. I think they're actually doing okay, and most of them would probably agree that we should be going up on that. Next slide. And that's it. So that's setting a context. We don't know what we're going to do because until you add up all the numbers of what we really think needs to happen, you don't know where we stand. And whatever we say then goes to the county council, and they can do what they do with it. But I want people to have some sense of what it takes to raise revenue if they want to raise revenue, because I know you're all going to come up to the microphone and you're going to tell us you want us to spend money on something. At least that's what happened at the first two, and that I understand that. But tell us how you feel about raising revenue as well, because that's something that's on the agenda. So look forward to hearing what you've got to say. Thanks. Oh, and most important thing of all, I need to introduce our community engagement and constituent service representative, Janice Jones. Can you stand up, Janice? So you are very lucky to have Janice. You'll find out why if you give her a call and complain about something. She'll make you smile by the end of it.
Thank you, Mr. County Executive. And now it's the public participation part of our program. So when you came in, you had the option to sign up and speak, and we're going to go through those names in order. After everyone who signed up is done, we'll have an open call for anyone else that wants to speak. So I'm going to read out the first 4 names, and if you'll approach on either aisle, we have a microphone there. So if you'll approach when I call your name, we have Brendan Maltese, looks like Jaden Shiflett, Jennifer Brienza, and Julie Sletter. If you would come up, please. And as a reminder, you have 3 minutes. I'll be keeping time. I have a very professionally designed sign to warn you when it's 30 seconds. And what you guys don't know, this is our 3rd one, and our signs keep getting progressively better. The first one, we had no sign. The second one, the print was too small. So you're getting the best sign to date.
Looks good. Biggest sign.
The best sign to date. So please state your name and 3 minutes, please.
Mr. Pittman, your opening remarks hit a lot of my points, but I'm going to read away anyway. Good evening. My name is Brendan Maltese. I live in District 3, and I'm a teacher in Districts 1 and 2. I'd like to start by thanking you for holding these hearings. Transparency and public input is important in this process, and I think everyone can appreciate how you're willing to face constituents to hear criticisms and concerns in public. Tonight, I ask you to fully support the school budget. The reasons why have been laid out in public over and over for many years now, and the voters made it pretty clear that now is the time to make it happen. Many people have brought up concerns over how this is going to be funded. I trust that your administration is identifying cuts to find money, but I just want to point something out about taxes. I looked up the tax rates of the surrounding counties, so Calvert, PG, Howard, Montgomery, and Baltimore, and did some rudimentary analysis. If we were to apply the average property tax and income tax rates of those counties to ourselves, we would see an incredible windfall of revenue to the county. It's something like $230 million, which would be an increase of somewhere around $900 for my family alone. I am absolutely not advocating for that kind of tax increase. $900 is an awful lot of money, right? But I ask anyone who is tax averse to look at it this way. We've been getting a pretty sweet deal for a long time. My personal finances have been $900 ahead of similar neighboring counties. What if I was only $800 ahead or $700 ahead? That's still an incredible personal savings, but we'd have a whole lot more money to go toward improving services that have seen decline in level of service for many years. As for the property versus income debate, we need to look at progressive tax structures. There are tax credits for seniors on fixed incomes, and we have the Homestead Act to keep our primary residence from increasing too much. These protections, and maybe some others that could be introduced, would allow the larger share of the burden to fall on the wealthy. They're doing pretty well under the latest federal tax bill, so now it's our turn. We also need to bring back larger impact fees on residential developers, and for three primary reasons. First, they were lowered originally to get housing prices down, or at least that was the public justification, but prices have continued to rise since then. It's basically another example of trickle-down economics not working. Second, they're called impact fees because they're supposed to cover the initial impact of adding population, and they're simply not high enough to achieve that. Third, the common wisdom of more development grows the tax base is false in this county, where we have a property tax revenue cap in our charter. No matter how many homes are added to this county, the total revenue collected from all properties can't grow more than the rate of inflation. I see it, thanks. That's absolutely absurd. More development doesn't grow the tax base, but rather it shrinks each individual slice of the pie and strengthens county government, or stretches county government to provide more service with the same amount of money. It's unsustainable, and we have to do something about it right away. We can start by setting those impact fees at a rate that actually covers the full impact. If it discourages residential development, then so be it. It's the fiscally responsible thing to do. Thank you.
Good evening, County Executive Pittman and Councilwoman Pickard. My name is Jaden Shiflett, and I am an 8th grader at Old Mill Middle North. I'm here tonight representing the Fund Old Mill School Construction Group. Mr. Pittman, you may not remember me, but I was there with you at Michael's 8th Avenue on election night. And when the results came in and they announced you as the new county executive, I cried. I cried because I thought, for the first time that I can remember, my education might really be a priority for someone who could make a difference. I know that probably sounds really overly dramatic, especially coming from a teenager like myself, but I've been testifying at these budget hearings since I was 6 years old in the 1st grade. And now that might not be like a long time to you, but it's more than half my life so far. Each school I attended was in desperate need of repair and had been overlooked for far too long. I learned that it takes years and years of testifying like this to get anything done. I was just a baby when the Old Mill schools first became an MGT priority back in 2006. Who would have thought? 13 years later, I'd still be standing here waiting for that project just to get started. Now that we finally have funding included in Dr. Alotto's capital budget to begin the Old Mill Complex Master Plan, I hope that you will keep the funding as a priority in your budget. And I hope that you will keep the Old Mill funding untracked in future years until it's done. And as you finalize your budget, please remember that students like me, have put a lot of faith in you guys. We are watching, we need to know that we're important too. Thank you.
Good evening, County Executive Pittman, Councilwoman Pickard. My name is Jennifer Brienza, and I'm an organizer for the Fund Old Mill School Construction Group. As you just heard from my daughter, Jaden, the Old Mill area schools are the last remaining priority from the 2006 MGT study, and we've been patiently waiting our turn for a long time. The approved fiscal year 20 Board of Education capital budget is a big step forward for Old Mill schools, since it includes funding for the design of Old Mill High School West and the feasibility studies for Quarterfield and Rippling Woods elementary schools. These are the first steps in accomplishing the Old Mill Complex Master Plan. Now, I understand that your transition team has now recommended making changes to that master plan, which was drafted back in 2016 and approved in 2017. Specifically, it's been recommended that the plan for 2 new high schools be reduced to 1 larger high school. At this time, my group does not have enough information to take a position on that specific change, but we would ask that before any change is made, thorough consideration be given to the current population growth. According to the 2018 Facilities Master Plan, Old Mill High School will reach nearly 3,000 students by 2024. And based on what I know of the current attendance rate, we're going to exceed that a lot sooner than 2024. One of the problems currently facing the Old Mill complex is that there are over 4,000 students under one roof. So designing a larger high school to hold more students, to me, doesn't necessarily solve that problem. It only changes the geography. But most importantly, my group cannot and will not support any change to the master plan that would disrupt the funding timeline in the Board of Education's budget. This can't wait any longer. The condition of some of these schools has become dire. For example, the mold problem at Old Mill Middle North has gotten so bad that last week a 7th grade math teacher had such a severe reaction she went into anaphylactic shock in the school building. She was administered an EpiPen and had to be transported by ambulance to the hospital. She was out of school for the remainder of the week. This teacher can no longer enter one of the central rooms of the school building without clinging to an inhaler. The school staff have been supportive, but there's only so much they can do. Every day that this woman enters the school building, she literally risks her life in order to teach her students. Now imagine what those conditions are doing to our children. This is why it is absolutely critical that we follow the MGT and keep the funding on track. Old Mill area schools have been waiting for far too long, and any delay at this point is simply unacceptable. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Julie Stetter, and I have 2 children who attend Rippling Woods Elementary School. I was excited to see Rippling Woods in the budget and encourage you to keep it there. Their school has open classrooms, which means there are no proper walls, windows, or doors. They also have multiple portable classrooms where kids have to go outside. After Rippling Woods, my children will attend Old Mill Middle North and Old Mill High School. In 2006, before they were even born, Old Mill schools became an MGT priority. Yet here we are, still talking about feasibility and design for these priority schools 13 years later. The character trait of the month at Rippling Woods is justice. The definition of justice is the quality of being fair and reasonable. Please do what is fair and reasonable for our Old Mill students. Fund their appropriate and safe school buildings. Don't let us down. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to call up the next 4 names. Please make your way down. Sharon Weed, Elizabeth Fletcher, Wanda Wagner, and Karen Mark, looks like. Maybe Karen Mack.
Sarah Wood, but not weed. But
Wood, not weed.
yeah.
Gotcha.
Been called trees and stuff, but not that. Can I start?
Yes.
Ready? I'm Sharon Wood, by the way. I moved to Anne Arundel County 41 years ago and have made my life here with my kids, the grandkids and stuff. I have a granddaughter at Old Mill North, so I totally support what you're saying about the schools and what's going on there. So, but I'm not here for that tonight. Tonight I'm here to ask you to support the Parks and Rec budget that is proposed to build a tennis center at Millersville Park. We are talking about giving Anne Arundel County some indoor opportunities for tennis and building enough courts that we can hold regional tournaments, have our high school tournaments there, do all those kinds of things that Anne Arundel County now has none of. I talked to 2 or 3 students out in front while I was waiting to get in tonight. They're out there playing in this freezing weather. I don't know how they did it. Tennis is a little not like lacrosse and stuff where you can, kind of cover up. All the rain we've had, these high school kids can get in and play in an indoor court. We plan to offer summer camps, after-school programs, social, recreational, competitive activities for all ages, and that includes some of our seniors. We're still playing. I'm still playing. With Special Olympics is another one of the things that we support. So please continue to leave the money in the budget to get Millersville Park built. I thank you for the opportunity to listen to me tonight. Thanks. Bye.
Hi, my name's Elizabeth.
Thanks for testifying, Old Mill folks. We're hearing you.
I'm here for the libraries. I've never done this before, but I'm also here for Old Mill because I attended it when it first opened in 1976, and it is shameful. My kids went to school here and played sports, and I would go there, and I was shocked. The condition of that school, it is shocking. This school, so much older, is in better shape than that school. That was just really upset me. Anyway,
Sorry,
I'm
ma'am.
here.
Can you state your name for the record?
I'm sorry, I'm Elizabeth Fletcher. I'm here for the libraries. That's really my heart, and that does play in school. With the trends in this state and the country of doing away with school librarians or downsizing it, it is more important that our public libraries support the community. I was born in Glen Burnie, I'm raised in Glen Burnie, went to school here. I pay taxes here. I'm a homeowner. I go to the library every week. Ben, one of my first memories is being a little kid. We went to the library every week. But most importantly, a couple weeks ago, random Tuesday, I was off, went to the library to hang out, check out books, and I sat and watched the programs, the children's programs, the variety of the people on computers, and most of them can't afford computers. That's why they're at the library. The librarians helping them, the young kids playing, their chess set. That's just awesome. They need 2 or 3 other community rooms, so there's more children. They need other larger computer rooms. The Glen Burnie Library is so small, and the services and populations are growing. You see new libraries built in Odenton, Annapolis, and I know everybody needs one, but there's limited parking. They need more community rooms. We have a strip center open with a Holly Lobby come in, or whatever it's called, and TJ Maxx. That's all wonderful because we do need to fill up the vacant store places. I get that. One of them would be perfect part of that for the library. It'd be great for business. You can go to the library, park, check your books out, go do a little shopping, go back to the library. I mean, that's great all the way around. But really, the libraries are so important. If you would just spend one random day, not a holiday, and see what these librarians do, it is well worth it. It's only 2% of your budget is spent on libraries, schools, downsizing libraries. You got to do better than that. You really do. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Wanda Wagner, and I am the branch manager at the Glen Burnie Library, and I also reside here in District 2. I'm here this evening in support of the library's budget and to specifically advocate for the need to accelerate the funding for the Glen Burnie Library capital project to fiscal year 21. The Glen Burnie Library, or formerly known as the North County Area Library, or maybe more fondly known as the Arundel Library, is turning 50 on May 4th. Our library serves the largest population of the 16 Anne Arundel County Public Library branches. That's approximately 90,000 residents. We are the only public library that's located in District 2. We have outgrown our space, and our infrastructure is failing. From skylight leaks, ongoing HVAC issues, and inadequate electrical access for technology, our building is in dire need of replacement. The library is the same square footage today as it was in 1969, before the internet and technology boom. It is woefully lacking in community space for meetings, collaborative work, and quiet individual study. We are in need of additional space for our collections, our computers, programming events, and dedicated spaces needed for our teens and community partners. The library is here to serve everyone in our community, from the youngest customers to our seniors, students and tutors, job seekers, to individuals experiencing homelessness and those who are even new to this country. We strive to provide a welcoming space for all. In the age of Google, many may believe that libraries are no longer relevant, but our statistics will tell a different story. In fiscal year 2018, 268,000 people came through our doors. Customers checked out more than 350,000 books, DVDs, and CDs. Computer usage is the highest in the library system, exceeding more than 91,000 computer sessions and 42,000 Wi-Fi sessions. 90 outside organizations booked our meeting room in 2018. Our books, media collection, and electronic resources are still core to the library's mission, yet we really do so much more. From early literacy programming for preschoolers to help prepare them for kindergarten, tween and teen anime clubs, job assistance, technology training, 3D printing, STEM events, a variety of educational and enrichment events for adults, plus our library by mail service to the homebound. We offer something for everyone. We want our libraries to be a destination in our communities. A new, larger facility here in Glen Burnie would provide us with the opportunity to grow existing services and pursue many new initiatives in support of lifelong learning. If anyone here this evening has not been into a library recently, I would encourage you to do so. You may discover something new. We invite you to join us for our 50th birthday celebration on Saturday, May 4th from 11 to 1. Come out to experience the library is today and envision what we can become in the future. Thank you for supporting our public libraries.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Karen Merck, and I am a librarian at the Glen Burnie Library. I am also a resident of District 2. I'm testifying this evening in support of the library's budget, as well as to share with you the tremendous impact libraries have in our community. As you have already heard, the Glen Burnie Library provides education and enrichment to all who walk through our doors or use our online resources. As we approach our 50th anniversary, we have asked customers to share with us their memories of the Glen Burnie Regional Library. I would like to take this opportunity to share one of these memories with you. And this is from Carolyn M. of Millersville. My memories of the Glen Burnie Library, or the North County Library, as I tend to call it, go back to the late 70s and early 80s, when my children were preschool age. The highlight of our week was your library story hour, which both of my children adored. At that time, there were no toys, and computers and videos did not exist, of course. The library was all books, books, books. And paintings you could check out. The kids and I would pick out a painting every month or so, check it out, and hang it on our dining room. We loved changing the look of our house with beautiful reproduction we had picked out together from your library walls. Now, 40-some years later, I bring my granddaughter, the daughter of the little boy I brought to Story Hour decades ago, to Story Hour every week. She and I are both thrilled to be there. Little Carolyn adores Miss Jackie, Miss Jessica, Miss Marjorie, and especially Mr. Bill, our custodian. Yesterday, she excitedly gave Mr. Bill a Valentine she made for him. When I tell her that we're going to the library, she lights up and says, "We see Mr. Bill." My heart is warmed not only by hearing stories with my granddaughter, watching her play with toys, observing her interact with staff and with friends, but by the many, many happy memories that the Glen Burnie Library has provided me and my family for over 40 years. I hope sharing this memory helps to illustrate the impact of the library. We welcome you to visit any of our 16 branches around the county. Thank you for supporting libraries. We are committed to helping build a welcoming, resilient community where all can realize life to its fullest potential. We look forward to a new Glen Burnie Library that will serve this community for all 50 years. Thank you.
Okay, I'll ask the next four folks to come down. Pat Wilson, John Dayton, Joe Adavinola, and Philip Miller. Please come down either aisle, and remember, you'll have 3 minutes, and please state your name before your testimony. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Pat Wilson, and I will not be taking 3 minutes because the preceding people who spoke about the library pretty much covered everything that I had to say. The library's been there 50 years. I've been a patron at that facility for 48. I may be one of the oldest people there when I go in. During the past 50 years, the Glen Burnie region, as you said, has experienced tremendous growth, but the library is the same size. Not being the wealthiest region of Arundel County, as you know, many of the residents in the Glen Burnie area rely on the library for their information and computer needs. Before the library opens at 9 o'clock, there are lines out both doors for people waiting to get in to sign up for a computer. They race in, and you better not get in front of somebody in line. It's not a good thing to do. The people who get signed up are followed by people all day throughout the course of the day as people wait generally pretty patiently for their turn. The librarian-led preschool reading and activity programs have bursting at the seam attendance. The kids from kindergarten through high school and their tutors are at almost every one of the tables throughout the school days. Adult literacy students and their tutors occupy the quieter areas in the library, and other adults learning English as a second language are regular features in the library. The programs currently provided in the space that's available are filled to capacity. I'm not going to get into all those because both Elizabeth and Karen had mentioned those. The other thing, though, is the library is designated as a warming center. Yet throughout the winter, there are days when both patrons and staff have to keep their coats on all day because the antiquated heating system is not functioning. Likewise, in the summer, both doors have to be propped open because the air conditioners are on their last legs. The staff at the library are unfailingly pleasant and professional and helpful. Most of the patrons are appreciative of and grateful for the services, but both staff and patrons deserve a larger, more up-to-date facility, and sooner rather than later. I know I have no clue where the money should come from, but it needs to come from somewhere. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Pittman and Ms. Picard. I'm John Dayton with Anne Arundel Community College, and I'm the Assistant Director for English Language Learning and Adult Education. Our programs provide free English as a second language, adult basic education, and general education development instruction throughout Anne Arundel County. Classes are conveniently located at 2 college sites, 4 public schools, 2 libraries, and 5 community-based sites, and serve more than 3,000 students each year. The programs help students earn a high school credential, obtain employment, enroll in post-secondary education and training programs, and acquire the English language skills needed to become informed and productive members of our community. When student educational levels increase, so does their earning potential and decreases their reliance on county and state social services. Students from these programs enroll at AACC for continuing education, workforce development, and credit programs. All of these support increased spending across the county by up-employed workers and residents. In the past year, enrollment increased by 10%, indicating a continued need in the community for these services. As part of our intake process, we ask students why they are enrolling or returning. The most prevalent responses we get are, I need better skills for employment or job promotions, and I need to help my children with their education. To meet this growing demand, we must recruit the best and brightest staff and faculty to AACC. We compete with surrounding post-secondary institutions for staff to administer our programs and adjunct faculty to instruct the growing number of non-native English speakers and non-high school graduates. A key element to successful recruitment is competitive compensation. Regardless of one's passion for this type of work, the need for realistic overall compensation typically remains a determining factor for individuals in their employment search. With this information in mind, I ask that the county executive and council members support the proposed FY 2020 AACC budget request. Thank you for your time and attention.
Good evening, Councilwoman Pickett, County Exec Pittman, Mr. Trumbauer, Joe Divinola, President, Anne Arundel County Professional Firefighters, largest public safety union in the county. I'm here to fight for more staff and for the fire department. This department has been understaffed dangerously for the last several years. The previous administration closed several companies in this area, forcing existing stations to cover a larger area. I cannot tell you how important it is to staff our first responding units with 4 firefighters, both nationally and nearly in every jurisdiction around us. They have 4 going out the door on every engine, every truck, and every squad. Just up the street on Central Avenue at Station 33, we shut down a company. We used to have 3 on the engine and 3 on the truck there. Now we have 4 that go out the door on either the engine or the squad. A block down the road in Ferndale, there's an entire station shut down that has no firefighters staffed 24 hours to respond to emergency calls. With the 3 fire deaths in Anne Arundel County in the last 60 days, one of them was in Ferndale. First due truck that would have been on that call was Station 33, which was closed down. 30 years ago, a person had an estimated 8 minutes to exit their home after a smoke detector went off. Today, they have 2 minutes. And there is no way possible with the staffing we have to get to our citizens' needs safely in 2 minutes. An average size home furnished with modern products is fully engulfed in flames in 3 minutes. The same home furnished with items 50 years ago took 30 minutes to do the same. Today's homes furnished with modern technology and oil-based products burn faster and present dangers never seen. I know we have a lot of older homes in this area, but the individual items in these homes combust more quickly, allowing flames and smoke to engulf rooms at a faster rate, leaving both citizens and firefighters in grave danger. Right here up the street in Marley, we have 3 firefighters responding on an engine. If they're busy or on another call, we're waiting for up the street on Central Ave, you have 4. But if they're busy on a squad, on a call, or an engine, we got Orchard Beach coming from Marley Neck with only 2 firefighters on that engine. There are a lot of what ifs here. Our citizens and our members rely on you both to keep them safe. I plead with both of you to fund Chief Wolford's fire department budget. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Philip Miller, County Executive Pittman, County Councilwoman Pickard. Thank you for making this opportunity this evening. I'd like to start out by just saying that I've lived in this county my entire life. I was a volunteer firefighter in 1986 to 1996. From 1996 to present, I've been a member of the Anne Arundel County Professional Firefighters. What I have noticed in our county is that just like you said, County Executive Pittman, our call volume has increased 5% a year, at least 5% a year. What I've also noticed, in 1990, the Tanyard Cove community was built. In 2011, the Reserve at Stony Creek community was built. In 2014, both Tanyard Spring and Creekside communities were built, all of them between District 2 and District 3. But what wasn't done was additional staffing for public safety, firefighters, and police. We're still handling the same emergencies that we handled years ago, 20 years ago, with the same amount of staffing. The fire department was awarded a SAFER grant by the federal government a few years back, but the previous county executive canceled that grant. I urge the County Executive Pittman and the council to approve Chief Wolford's budget for additional staffing to protect citizens of Anne Arundel County. We put our lives on the line 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for the love of the job and to take care of our communities. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to call the next 4 names down: Jim O'Reilly, Julie Hildebrand, John Leopold, and Caitlin Maltese. If you'll make your way down, and remember, you'll have 3 minutes, and please state your name before your testimony. Thank you.
County Executive Pittman, Councilwoman Pickard, my name is Julie Hildebrand. I'm a 31-year resident of Anne Arundel County, and I'm a volunteer math tutor for the Anne Arundel County Literacy Council. If nobody's familiar with the Anne Arundel County Literacy Council, it's icanread.org. There are 292 volunteer tutors all over the county helping people get their high school equivalencies. They're helping both in literacy and math. My current student is 56 years old, seeking a high school equivalency. I'm currently tutoring out of the Glen Burnie Library, so I'd like to echo the feelings there about that facility. They could definitely use the collaboration space for tutors. If replacement is in order, what I would encourage you to think about if replacing Glen Burnie Library is going to be on the table is what will people do during the construction time. Obviously, Annapolis is going through a bit of transition right now with their library, so to keep the people in mind who need tutoring and need library services during construction, if Glen Burnie is going to be on the table for replacement. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Caitlin Maltese, and I reside in Pasadena, and I teach music at Corcoran Middle School. Miss Pickard, your son did a great job at rehearsal after school today. I love my students that I teach, and I love the community that I live in. I'm here to share some concerns that I have seen in my school over the past several years. My current school, Corcoran Middle School, was built in 1962, and to my knowledge has not received any major renovations since then. While we are trying to elevate all children and eliminate all gaps in this county, we are working in a building that is 57 years old and not conducive to 21st century education. As of right now, we are not even on the 10-year plan to be rebuilt or renovated. Severna Park Middle School was built 5 years after Corcoran in 1967 and was renovated 9 years ago in 2010. According to the 10-year facility plan, Corcoran will not be renovated until at least 2030 if we make the plan then. That puts us at least 25 years behind Severna Park's renovation. That's a generation longer of an inadequate facility where students are expected to receive a modern 21st century education. I've approached this conversation with members of the County Council and the Board of Education. The reason I've heard is that Corcoran is under capacity. The capacity of our building shouldn't impact the fact that my air conditioner is broken every other week and that there's lead in our water. Just because Corcoran's parents aren't showing up in droves to advocate for a new facility doesn't mean it's any less of a problem. The poverty rate in this district is higher than many other districts in the county. Corcoran has a diverse population and our test scores are not as high as neighboring districts. Our students have experienced unique crises and family situations and constantly bring these situations into our buildings and classrooms. Overall, the challenges we face are much different in our school than many of the other middle schools in this county, yet our facility from the 1960s is still not a priority to be rebuilt. I have a pretty big problem with the fact that our county wants to eliminate gaps and all means all until it comes to districts with higher poverty rates versus districts with more vocal parents. The ability of parents to afford being able to take off work to advocate for their schools should not be a factor in the probability of a school getting rebuilt or renovated. I never imagined myself as an educator in Glen Burnie, but I have fallen in love with this community and with my school, and I'm ready to fight for equity for our students and staff. I'm begging you to fully fund this year's education budget and to consider for the future providing the funding in order to ensure that all students come into buildings that are adequate for a 21st century education. Thank you.
John Leopold. 11 years ago, after a long, protracted battle, we were able to secure a bipartisan coalition of 4 council votes to increase impact fees. The fees at that time, it was a result of a compromise, but they were artificially low, as pointed out by earlier speakers. They're even more so today. The per mile cost of road construction, the per pupil cost of school construction have more than doubled in the last 20 years. When these fees are artificially low, that means that taxpayers are subsidizing the cost of new development. The developers and builders should pay that cost, and I hope, Mr. County Executive, that you have an easier time getting to 4 votes than I did on the council. That's very important to increase those fees. Second thing I want to talk about, and I put on my hat as a director of the food bank. Currently, the food bank is funded through the Department of Health with a grant of $98,000 a year. The food bank serves over 1 million meals throughout this county, and we saw with the federal shutdown that there was an even increased need for their services. So I encourage the administration to increase that $98,000 grant at least by an amount equal to the increase in inflation over the last several years. Finally, I want to say something about a program at the community college. Racism and anti-Semitism are an increasing problem in this county. The schools are trying to address it, and they have a role to play. But a child's life between the age of 0 and 18, 90% of that time is spent outside of school. We started a program about a decade ago at the community college, a parenting program, to help the parents of middle school students identify suicide prevention techniques, gang warfare. I would ask you to ask the community college to look at restarting that program again, but expanding it to include racism, anti-Semitism. I think it'll make a big difference. Thank you for your time.
Okay, next set of names, Heather Kurdziel, Brian Holtzlander, Peter Olson, and Jason Wilcox. If you'll come down to the microphone, remember you have 3 minutes, and please state your name before your testimony.
Good evening. My name is Heather Kurtzel, and I'm here representing myself among numerous teachers in this county that may not be able to be here tonight but are in similar situations as myself. Mr. Pittman, you mentioned the middle class is disappearing. I'm here to represent that class and asking you to fully fund the proposed education budget. I became a teacher for Anne Arundel County Public Schools in August of 2008. I have been a county resident my entire life, attending Anne Arundel County Public Schools, and was excited to work for a county that I had been told had great pay and benefits. Near the end of my first year of teaching, I was informed that we would not be getting step increases for the 2009-2010 school year. This was to be my first experience step. I was informed that a plan had been made to restore the step over a 3-year period, during which time eligible teachers would receive a step and a third of the step, so that in 3 years we would be caught up. That plan year after year was not funded, and neither were experienced steps. In the spring of 2010, my second year of teaching, my husband and I bought our first home in Anne Arundel County, with the intention that as I continued in this county gaining more experience, I would climb the pay scale and house payments would not leave us strapped so tight. Unfortunately, it was not until the middle of my 6th year of teaching that I received my first step increase. I started year 6 making the same amount as my colleagues who were in their first year of teaching. However, at this time, I was required per Maryland law to take multiple classes of continuing ed in order to renew my certificate, and it was necessary at this time that I begin my graduate level classes so my next renewal could be on time, obviously costing some money. At this time, I consulted friends who graduated from the same Anne Arundel County high school I did that went on to pursue teaching positions in other counties. Those that had steps frozen were now caught up and had been for some time. I, on the other hand, was continuing to lose money year after year by continuing my career in Anne Arundel County. In the 2015-16 school year, my 8th year of teaching, I was making the same as a 3rd-year teacher. My school hired a transfer teacher from another county who was also in her 8th year of teaching. At the time, she had 3 steps taken away from her experience, placing her on our pay scale at step 5, and 2 steps above teachers who had dedicated the last 7 years of their career to Anne Arundel County, including myself. At this time, a transfer teacher in his or her 11th year of teaching, as I myself am, would begin the year on step 10. I began the year on step 5. Step 5 in my 11th year of teaching in Anne Arundel County. I'm sure you can imagine the resentment this has caused teachers in my situation. After devoting their time to Anne Arundel County, they are making over $6,000 a year less than what they would have placed on the correct step or transferring to another county. We are feeling as though the county is not fighting to support their prior employees as much as they are supporting new to the county teachers by not funding these catch-up steps.
Ms. Kurziel, your 3 minutes is up. Can you finish your sentence there and then?
Yes. We must close this gap. Mr. Pittman, you are quoted saying, "Our campaign is about the future of this county, and that future is in the hands of our teachers. The future is now, and we are holding you accountable for these promises."
Thank you.
Peter Olson, and I'm representing me. I don't represent any organized group. I'm a dad, I'm a husband, and just a resident of Anne Arundel County. But I was glad to hear you talk about, Executive Pittman, that traffic is unbearable here, because I'm going to be one of the few people, I guess, to talk about transportation tonight. To me, I think transportation is about more than just moving cars, it's about moving people. And that includes all people, not just people who can afford cars, people who don't afford cars or are unable to drive. In 2003 or thereabouts, this county passed a bike ped plan, and near as I can tell, it's sitting on a shelf somewhere down in Annapolis collecting dust. A lot of work went into it. We held community meetings like this. People came out, people talked, but nothing's happened. In the early 90s, my kids were in middle school. They were going to George Fox in Pasadena, and they had to walk in the street with dozens of other middle schoolers to school. And it's sad to say that today, those middle schoolers are still walking in the street to get to school. That, as a father, that really kind of ticked me off. You know, you put my kid in the street, I'm not a happy camper. There should be sidewalks, there should be bikeways, there should be access for people who choose a better way to commute. I say better, but a healthier way to commute. When my mother was getting on in years, she was still driving, she felt stranded without a car. took out 2 mailboxes. We finally got her to give up her license. But until we come up with ways for people to bike, walk, and with public transit, people are going to feel compelled to drive, even if they can't afford to, even if they don't have the physical capacity really to do so safely. So what I'm looking for here is better bike access, better pedestrian access, better public transportation. A closing thought is that one of my best friends in the military, we served overseas together. He survived over there. He didn't get killed in combat there. He got killed here, riding his bicycle as he was going to work. That shouldn't have happened. It should not be more life-threatening to ride here than it is to serve overseas. And when you talk about finance, I would say, let's raise taxes on those people who are bringing in over $200K a year. You talk about people making more money. Well, I believe in the progressive tax rate. So, thank you.
Hello, Brian Holtzlander, Anne Arundel County Professional Firefighters. Thank you, Councilwoman Pickard and County Executive Pittman, for this opportunity to be here and participate in this process. And thank you to all of our citizens here for the continued opportunity and privilege to serve you. And when I say privilege, I mean to go to work every day and participate in the lives and the story of Anne Arundel County. And that's why we're here, and that's why we continue to fight for safety and for a safer county. So, Anne Arundel County has been operating under 2 to 3 person engine and truck companies, as President Evan said, for the entire existence of our department. National standard is 4. This current budget offers us the opportunity to make Anne Arundel County a safer county, safer for firefighters and safer for the citizens, because we can't do the things that we need to do to go into the burning buildings and to cut open the cars with just 2 to 3 people. District 2 represents some of the most dense and complicated challenges in Anne Arundel County. We have multi-story apartment buildings, complex commercial districts, and high traffic roads and highways. To manage all of these, like I said, 2 to 3 firefighters is just inadequate, and it always has been. For example, it takes 4 people to quickly and efficiently advance a fire hose up multiple flights of stairs due to the incredible weight and friction that a hose filled with water has, stretching anywhere from 200 to 400 feet. 1 to 2 people, 3 people is just not going to do that. I wish I could say I was a Superman, but we're all still human. It takes 4 to attack complicated industrial hazardous materials, to assess those, and 4 to safely cut a person out of a car while still maintaining safety and preventing further entanglement. So in conclusion, it's time to bring our fire service into the 21st century to protect our citizens with the efficient, effective fire service that they deserve and that we so desperately want to bring them. Thank you.
Good evening, Councilwoman Pickard and County Executive Pittman. This is nerve-wracking. I apologize. I am a teacher, but I'm not here speaking on behalf.
Can you state your name, sir?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Jason Wilcox. I apologize. I am a teacher. My wife and I are both teachers here in Anne Arundel County. I'm actually not here to speak about teachers. Sorry, everybody. But I'm here to represent the youth sports organizations, and specifically Arundel Youth Soccer in District 2. And the idea that there is probably some discrepancies in our county, and the fact that I've been a resident here in Glen Burnie for 15 years with 3 children. And to the best of my knowledge, I cannot remember the last time Park and Recs built a new facility here in District 2. I know that in other districts, in Crofton, Bell Branch has been redone. They've gotten brand new turf fields. They have lights. Unfortunately, here in Glen Burnie, currently we are working with 1 field in District 2 that is not on school property, that has lights. So anytime anybody needs to, especially in the fall when the daylight gets shorter, to use practice facilities for our youth organizations, such as Arundel, we don't have that. We don't have that ability. We're renting lights. We're using those, trying to pay for those out of our pocket. Glen Burnie High School, we're at the mercy of the high school and their teams, or any other organizations. What we're asking for is, we were at one point last year on the budget, docket, to have possible field and lights put into Marley Middle School, but that, of course, was cut. What we are asking for is part of Arundel Youth Sports and Arundel Soccer and the other organizations around here, because we are a very, very diverse group. We represent many. We have over 500 players currently of all ethnic backgrounds, and we are looking for equality when it comes to the idea of how the Park and Rec is spending their money, to make sure that we are also receiving lit fields, that we are having lit fields that we can use, turf fields, so that in case of rain, we're not canceling, the children are not being able to practice or have games, the situations. We are asking for the idea that all around in District 2, that we fight for having the same privileges for our youth that they may have in other districts. And we're really, really, I mean, we want lit fields and facilities that make Glen Burnie proud. So, thank you.
Okay, we'll call the next set of names, please. Fred Fons, Kate Snyder, and Fermin Centeno or Centero. If you'll approach the microphone and please state your name, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Frederick Fonts, and I represent FODCOP. I'm the secretary of a union that represents the corrections officers for Jennifer Road Detention Center, as well as the Ordnance Road Correctional Center. I'd like to start by congratulating both of you on your election and saying that the work that's been put into this budget already is absolutely incredible. But we'd like to make one simple request, and that's that corrections not be forgotten. Our union president, Dale Waldroff, was planning on being here tonight, but was held on mandatory overtime, so he was unable to make it, so I'll be speaking in his place. In your transition committee's report, the key issues listed were that we don't have competitive starting salaries, that there's a lack of strategic planning, and that there's low morale causing too much sick leave usage. Looking at your budget's 5-point plan, you include enhancing public safety, which sounds fantastic, but we feel forgotten. Tonight's presentation didn't include corrections when you mentioned personnel costs. Your overall budget presentation focuses on increasing teacher pay, staff levels, and enhancing security, police pay, and doubling the number of officers in schools. We'll never argue against police or teachers getting a salary increase. They're the ones that are building our future, and they're the ones that are protecting our families. We've brought it to the county's attention multiple times that we're somewhere between 40 and 50 officers short right now, which is about 20 to 25%. We've been assured that there are roughly 50 people being hired. There are also 30 officers that are eligible for retirement right now, and we're planning on opening central booking. So we feel that these hiring numbers are short. The construction project that we have for central booking right now also seems short-sighted. You've planned for the cost of the building, but it feels like officers are being left in the cold. Currently, our officers are parking on a gravel lot between the fire department on Jennifer Road and the wall that is on the edge of Route 50. We've had multiple times where inmates have been waiting outside of the jail for officers to come to their car because there's no security measures out there. For what it's worth, that lot is currently on land owned by the State Highway Administration, and it's considered a temporary lot, which seems like another message that our officers are being forgotten. We're getting temporary solutions to long-term problems. We've been assured that there's a long-term solution, and that would be to build sidewalks on the edge of Jennifer Road that lead to our satellite lot, which is almost a mile away from the jail. This is another message that we seem to be forgotten. As you consider this budget, we ask that you focus not only on doubling the number of police officers in schools, but that you increase the number of corrections officers in jails. We ask that you focus on adding quality officers rather than lowering the quality standards, which has happened in the past. As you consider this budget, we ask that you remember the key issues that your transition committee mentioned. Give us competitive starting pay and focus on building our morale. Because I promise you, if you build morale, you won't have to worry about sick leave anymore. Because when our officers stop feeling underappreciated and overworked, they're not going to use sick leave because they're not going to need those mental health days. We're told in our academy that mental fatigue is an issue, and we ask that you remember that, because if we're going to teach our newest officers that mental fatigue is a concern, it needs to be a concern in your budget as well. Thank you very much.
Good evening, Executive Pittman and Councilwoman Pickard. My name is Kate Snyder. I am a 50-plus year resident of Anne Arundel County and a 20-plus year teacher for Anne Arundel County Public Schools. And I'm here to advocate for fully funding the education budget. Teacher compensation must be a priority for this administration. We have amazing teachers in this county. Many of us taught through the lean years of the recession, thinking we would eventually be made whole, and still we wait. I ask that you prioritize catching up those of us who have been patiently waiting. We want to do what's best for students. It's what we do. And what is best for students is having teachers who feel that their county recognizes their loyalty and hard work. Please make loyal educators whole again. Thanks.
Good night, Mr. Pickman, Ms. Consul, and good night, everyone. I'm here just to say whatever I say everywhere I go. My name is Fermin Centino, and I represent here the Spanish community. As you know, the Spanish community is been growing up all over the county. So what I represent is an organization that try to provide a space so Spanish kids and Spanish community and adults and kids can practice soccer, because we believe any kids, any adult deserve their time so they can get in recreation. But unfortunately, right here in the county, it's not place for groups like us. We just been getting whatever is left over from some other groups. Right now, we're renting some turf field from the county, but they let us go after 9 o'clock or 9:30 in the night. So pretty much sometimes we finish playing there about 11 o'clock, which is not good. People need to go to work, or kids need to go back to school next day. So for us as organization, we think we should have something, because a lot of all the kids it's nothing for us to use. And here's thanks to Mr. Sergio Polanco. He invited me tonight, and hopefully we're going to be talking about this, because we don't have no place to practice, and we're pretty much taking whatever is left over from some other groups. So I think we need to get that help to keep it going. Right now, between kids and adults, we have over 1,500 people who are participating on my programs. But to keep on going, we need your help, because we believe that one boy on practicing soccer is one kid is now on the roads learning bad things. We have a boys that are like 16 or 17 years old from this high school, from North County High School, from all over the county, going to my organization, because they don't have that opportunity to practice soccer like they want. So hopefully we'll be in touch, and thank you for this opportunity. Thank you.
Do we have any more signed up? Okay, so our last pre-signer upper is Erica Ward. If you'll come down, and then after you speak, we will open it up to the rest of the audience. While Erica's coming down, I'll compliment you all. Good job, Glen Burnie. I think the timer's only gone off once, so yeah, give yourselves a round of applause. You deserve it.
I'm going to try to keep the trend going. That's why I wrote all this down. So
Good evening. My name is Erica Lyle Ward. I am a constituent here in District 2. And just full disclosure, I've already met with Councilwoman Pickard, and she was very gracious with her time. And I've also spoke a lot with Ms. Janice Jones, who's also been awesome, and I appreciate their time and concern and effort. I work in District 1. I live in District 2, so Anne Arundel County is very important to me, which is why I'm here tonight. I live in a newer home and am enraged on how the new developers have been allowed to conduct business here. My development was never graded correctly, causing water issues. Homes weren't built properly, causing them to have water in their homes repeatedly, and I can feel a hearty breeze when using my master bathroom due to sub-quality materials and work. Our development was told last summer that we would be a no parking community due to the width of our street, something that the developer never told any buyer and something the county was well aware of and dropped the ball with communication, something that has been acknowledged by the county, leaving the buyers living in a neighborhood with significant changes on the horizon that will change not only how we live, but the value of our home. I urge you to hold developers and builders accountable to build high-quality neighborhoods that they market with homes built to the standard that you would expect to live in. I also enthusiastically encourage your support for the Department of Education budget. I have 4 children. 2 are in elementary school, and due to the explosion of development in District 2, Severn Elementary cannot handle the capacity of students, leading to more students per class and the inability to address serious issues such as bullying and sexual harassment, both of which my daughter has experienced. She's in 1st grade and she's 6. I also wanted to mention infrastructure as well. I live off Reese Road. Getting home is a challenge. Getting to Walmart is a challenge. Getting to work is a challenge. I feel like all these homes were built and developed without addressing how we were going to get back and forth on our county roads. I thank you for your time.
Thank you. And that concludes the folks that have signed up. If anyone else would like to address the panel, please make your way down. Remember, you have 3 minutes, and state your name before your testimony.
My name is Ronald Wells. I'm a retired engineer. I've been living in Anne Arundel County for over 50 years. It's a pleasure and an honor to be able to speak to you today. I am here to represent the concerns of the seniors in terms of
Mr. Wells, can you pull the mic a little closer to you so we can hear you a little better? Thank you.
We went through a recent campaign where we heard you all consider the needs of the county, and a lot of new programs were proposed. We also have a group looking at the county, looking for other ways to improve it. All of those to us seniors are very wonderful, very positive, but also frightening in the fact that somebody's going to have to pay for them. We have a lot of seniors that are living on Social Security. They're making $1,000 to $2,000 a month. That equates to about a $4 to $8 an hour pay. You're worried about minimum wages, raising them to $15. Realize seniors are living in around $4 to $8. They have medical costs that are going out of sight. They can't afford that. When you talk about a progressive tax, you say you're going to get the fat cats. The reality is that property taxes increase, fees increase. The fat cats pass those taxes on, so that one way or another, seniors are paying for those bills, for those facilities also. I'd like to point out, too, that we feel like we're doing our fair share. Please come to the Fiscal Center and look around there. It's been a major improvement to our quality of life. The Department of Aging and Disability has done a wonderful job caring for seniors. I can't tell you all that they do, and I won't because we don't have the time. If you go to the senior center, you'll find that there's any day several hundred people there that are using those facilities. I'd like to point out that that facility is manned by about 4 paid people. There's another 100 or 200 people on any given day that might be there as volunteers. They work somewhere from 1 day to a full week. If you go into the computer room, you'll see a nice set of computers. It's a room that's full. All the computers in that room were purchased from the contributions of the seniors. Go into the exercise room. Exercise is very important at our age. We have, it's one of our critical items for maintaining life. All the exercise equipment was paid for by the members of the senior center. When those equipments fail, computers or exercise equipment, we don't come to you asking you for money. We haven't asked you for a lot. That money is, or that effort to repair all that equipment is from volunteers. You go around there, if you walk up to the room, to the building, you'll see it's a very nice building. The landscaping is good. Landscaping, almost all of it was done by volunteers from the senior center.
Mr. Wells, your 3 minutes is up. I'm going to ask you to finish that sentence and then give someone else a turn.
When you review the budget, please consider the fact that we feel like we're paying our fair share in kind. We don't have a lot of money to spend. Please, I'd rather see you cut some of the other programs that you feel are necessary to be replaced and save hours. Thank you.
Yeah, good evening. I'm Rusty Bristow. I'm actually from District 1. Unfortunately, I cannot make that meeting because I have to go to the Local Development Council that same night. So I'm mad at you. But that's beside the point. I'm here to kind of discuss a little bit about the firemen and the police. We have in Station 29 and 21, between the two, we have a couple pieces of apparatus that are over $1 million in a ladder truck that will not be used because they don't have the personnel to man it. We need more firefighters and better pay to keep them here. In the police department, we have been behind for many, many, many years. We're actually below what we were probably 15 years ago in personnel. In Western District, I happen to be the president of the Police Communications Relations Council. We have more calls per amount of people, and the growth in that district is unreal. We need the ladder truck to be able to be manned so that it can get out to the fire that it needs, and you need 4 people to handle that. At either station, which Station 21 was rebuilt, they don't have the personnel to do it. Station 29, they're going through revamping of some things that are going on there. They don't have the personnel to do it. So please look into this and please do something about it for the safety of the people. Thank you.
Good evening, and I'd like to say congratulations to both of you. I thank God for y'all guys winning the election. We prayed at our church. I'm Pastor Terry Allen, representing God's Perfect Will Ministries and TTC Transform the Community. To our new county exec and our new councilwoman, we say thank you for even visiting our building and checking us out. But we are here just to represent the faith-based community. We hope to keep continually doing what we're doing and what we're using county property and doing what we need to do for our community and our young people. I try to show the work that we do. We do a lot of work. If there's anything in the budget to help out our community outreach or our programs, giving book bags, we want to do more literacy program. We want to do a lot more for the Glen Burnie community. And if any funding or anything that can be thrown our way, we are greatly appreciated. We're praying for your continual success, and we're praying that this county will see the work that we're doing with the diversity of our young people, where we're dealing with the opioid crisis, and we want to have an alternative for our young people. My gear is to get the youth, especially from the 15s to the 35, not only back in church, but back into community, getting them literacy, getting them off of drugs, getting guns out of their hands. I've been doing too many funerals right now as a pastor, and it's breaking my heart with the gun violence and the overdose. So I'm praying that we as a faith-based community will be a more asset, not asking for anything, but to show support for what we're already doing. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Susan Schillen. I'm a treasurer for the Girard Plaza Martindale Improvement Association. Our community is located on Marley Station Road from Ritchie Highway going back to the overpass, which I'm not sure if it's over Route 10 or Route 100. It's an older community, I think was built in the 50s. We have several people in their 90s who are original owners who are still active in the Improvement Association. If you continue on Marley Station Road up beyond B&A Boulevard, it turns into Marley Neck Boulevard, and if you go up there, there is where we've had all of the huge developments, Tanyard Cove, I don't know, there's so many different ones, and it's just increased the traffic horribly that we have 3 schools between our community and B&A Boulevard, which is just a short distance. There's Marley Elementary School, there's Calvary Baptist Christian Church Academy, and there's Marley Middle School. So when school is coming in and getting out, traffic gets backed up in all different directions from cars trying to get into these schools. We have so many people coming from the new communities and coming down trying to get to Ritchie Highway, and so that the traffic is backed up from Ritchie Highway back beyond, past all of the exits to our community, so people trying to get out from our community, we can only turn one direction because there's no way to make a left turn across all that traffic. We also have problems with people who are want to go north on Ritchie Highway. They will cut through our community, and so they're going down Allen Road, which is a road that has the bus stops for the high school and the kindergarten children and preschool children that get picked up by the bus. There's also a house for people with disabilities there that frequently has little buses coming to pick people up. So there's traffic, and it's speeding through there. It's supposed to be 25 miles an hour, but they're speeding through. They're not stopping the stop signs, trying to get out to Ritchie Highway so they can take a shortcut. So it really, it's always at all of our meetings, people always bring up all the traffic that, it's just very difficult for us to get in and out. And I say the impact fees, definitely those developments should have been more responsible and had to put in, more work with the roads, the schools, and all those other things. I will go on then that we also have a lot of problems with stormwater in our community. We only have a few storm drains. A lot of people, I think at one point we might have been like a clay or gravel pit, years and years ago. So some of us are very low. We're on a level with Marley Creek, and we have flooding that way. Or people who are up higher in the community, they have a lot of underground springs, and so their sump pumps are constantly filling up, and they have to pump it out. And so those are some other problems we need.
That's your 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Name's Herb Sanders. I live in District 3. I'm not nearly prepared as everybody else is here. I got a problem. The county won't call me back when I call them up to look something up. Planning is there. They got Marley Neck Boulevard, plan new community. They said, the sign there said, if you want more information, call this number. Call the number. They pass me around. They still haven't called me back since October. Ms. Jones has been trying to help me out, but she don't call me back much either. So I wasn't going to come to this meeting, but she called me up and convinced me to come here. They're getting ready to put 662 more units on that road, on Marley Neck Road, not Marley Neck Boulevard. That's bad enough as it is. Marley Neck Road is a 2-lane road, no sidewalks, kids walking back up and down that road going to school. Traffic is bad, and I can't get no information about this development going on down there. What's the county trying to hide? That's what I want to know right now. So that's pretty much all I got to say.
Yes, my name is Josh Hall, and I have been a resident of Point Pleasant in Anne Arundel County for 40-plus years, and I'm a Vermont farm boy. Went into the Marine Corps in Vermont and got stationed at NSA at Fort Meade, and then I ended up turning pro. I didn't migrate back to Vermont because I saw opportunity here in New York City, right? So I stayed in Anne Arundel County, lived with a sports writer for the Sun paper for years, and then bought property in Point Pleasant, and then I started having problems. And they were serious problems because from being a farm boy, I got put on a farm because we were so poor. I was out living on a farm when I was 10 years old to help my mom. So they fed me, but anyway, I learned a lot about migration of water and sinkholes and water holes, and I learned a lot of stuff about farming, and that kind of gave me the opportunity to where I was living at, and I saw the water problem. I was trying to control it, but I couldn't control it because there was no place for it to go except into the earth, and it was making sinkholes, and it undermined my swimming pool, ruined my swimming pool, it's ruining my house, the streets are all deteriorated, and nobody will do anything. And I've gone down to the county roads and said, please, would you please come up here and look at this problem? And until this lady right over here made my acquaintance and said to me, let me see what I can do for you. And when she looked at the problem, I had other people from risk management look at the problem, and they would go, oh my God, I can't believe all this damage. I said, then why isn't the county doing something then? It's ruining property, it's ruining the streets, people are all complaining. They come up to my house and complain to me. What can I do? They're my neighbors, and the water is going to do what it's going to do. Unless you control the water, it's going to ruin the ground through migration and make sinkholes, and the streets are going to deteriorate, and that's what's going on in Point Pleasant. And Janice was the first lady that actually has given me the opportunity to come someplace and speak my piece about negligence on the county's part. If you go to the county and you go in there and say, could you please come up here and look at it? Get out of my office right now. And that's the kind of treatment you get when you're looking for them to do something in a community where there is definitely a water problem and people are complaining about it, but they're not. I had a lady from risk management say, Mr. Hall, I promise you I'll get something done. And I said, promise? She said, promise. Guess what? Nothing was done, and I tried to contact her office. Nothing was done, and it's just they're overlooking something that's doing a lot of damage to people's property. If you were doing some damage to county property that they own, they would have you in the courtroom. But if you go to them, they'll tell you to get out of their office.
Mr. Hall, that's the 3 minutes. Thank you very much.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
I want to thank you, Janice. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Pittman, Ms. Pickard. My name is Charles D. Fowler IV. I'm a 20-year firefighter with Anne Arundel County Fire. I'm also a representative of Local 1563. I have the pleasure of serving at both Ferndale, West Annapolis, Severna Park, and now Brooklyn. I wanted to highlight some of our staffing issues that I've seen over the years, going back to when we put 2 trucks out of service and immediately saw a very tragic fire afterwards that didn't have the resources to help rescue the individuals in the fire. Again, we're seeing companies shut down. Company 33 lost its ladder truck. You just have 4 firefighters running out of there. When we say we have 4 firefighters on that one engine, and that's one of very few in the county, that is including the driver who is chained to that engine. They are there to operate the pump. So now you only have 3 firefighters there to do most of the work. If you go to any other company in the county, it's just 3 personnel on that engine. That driver, again, is chained to that pump panel. That allows you 2 personnel to do the work of that engine company. We send a lot of apparatus to a call because we're not properly staffed. We send about 8 heavy pieces of apparatus to a call just to get the number of firefighters to help safely do our job and help rescue you. It complete our promise, our commitment to the citizens of Anne Arundel County. The ladders that we carry on a ladder company that only has 3 personnel weigh upwards of 135 pounds, 125 pounds. That's in addition to the 45 to 75 pounds of equipment that we just dress in. You know, we love doing what we do. We're committed. We're always going to go all out. But to give the citizens the best chance And for us to safely do our job so we can return home to the ones that love us, we need more personnel. So again, we're asking you to fund Chief Wolford's budget. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and that concludes our public comment. We're now going to conclude the evening with some closing remarks. We'll start with Council Member Pickard and then end with County Executive Pittman.
Do I have 3 minutes? Well, first I want to say thank you for everybody for coming out on this very cold night. I feel like there were many friendly faces at the microphone. I feel like I could have written a good bit of your testimony, whether we were talking about public safety issues or our Board of Education issues, our school construction issues, water everywhere issues in District 2, our library, our seniors, our property taxes. I heard everything said today. I especially, having served on the Board of Education, I have a special interest and a little more knowledge about our education budget and our school construction needs in this district. There was a group here from Old Mill. My children attend Glen Burnie cluster schools, but we have more than half of the schools on the priority list for construction are in District 2. But I also am very concerned about how we staff our schools, how we treat our teachers, how we treat our public safety employees, and how we serve our community, and how we keep up with our infrastructure. I could go on and on and on. So just know that here with Councilwoman Pickard in District 2, you have an advocate and you have a champion who's thinking about all of those things and plans to work very hard to advocate for our district and the county as a whole. So thank you again for coming out. We hope to see you during County Council budget hearings as well. This process is just starting. We have challenging needs and competing needs, so it's not going to be easy, but just bear in mind that I have your best interests as they are also mine. So thank you.
Don't think you wasted your time, because this is pretty intense stuff. I think you would agree, and I as well. And I think that all of you were mesmerized by hearing what your neighbors had to say, and I was mesmerized. It's very different looking at a list of numbers and short descriptions of funding projects. It's very different to hear it directly from people. And so I'm going to be spending the next 2 months going through numbers with Ben and the rest of the staff. Department heads are going to come in and they're going to make their case for the budgets that they've put together. And I can promise you that your faces are going to pop up in my mind, and the words that you've said. I mean, you all are much better advocates than the department heads. Sorry about those of you who are department heads, but the citizens do a much better job. So, you know, I walk away, every one of these, you learn some new things. Most of these are things that we've heard, but they get stronger, and some of them are new. I mean, it was great having the Old Mill crowd here in the beginning. I mean, we're going to be meeting, Allison and I and some staff, about Old Mill and you know, this whole question of 1 or 2. Just because something's in a transition report doesn't mean it didn't come from me. It came from them. So it doesn't mean it's necessarily going to happen the way it's written. Having the library folks have been at every one of these, and they usually talk about the library in the district and the Glen Burnie Library I've been to. In fact, our campaign was one of the organizations that used the meeting space, and I just have to say that, you know, Anne Arundel County doesn't have community centers, and libraries are the closest thing we have in a lot of places, and they're very important. Even though maybe not everybody is reading a paper book, everybody's using their resources, and I testified yesterday in Annapolis on a bill that was to on prescription drugs, and somebody gave me a number of how much Anne Arundel County spends on prescription drugs for its employees and retirees, and it was $44 million. And when I testified, I said, that's double what we spend on libraries, and that was a powerful statement. We only spend $22 million on libraries. It was great to have some folks from community college here. Great to have the firefighters here. Talked about the SAFER grant. We're applying for another SAFER grant. We're going to try to get some federal money, but we also know that we have to invest our own money. The Literacy Council here, I got your letter, I got your on that. We're looking at that and hearing about impact fees, food bank, and of course teacher pay. I'm going to be there on Monday marching with the teachers. I hope you're going to be there as well. Teachers from all across the state are getting together, and to have the corrections folks here. You know, public safety includes corrections, and they often get forgotten, and they remind me, and we have to remember that they have, you know, one of the toughest jobs in the county working in our jails. The soccer league, I got an email about that, so hearing with the Latino soccer, you know, hearing about that is great in person. And it just goes on and on and on. And then, of course, stormwater and development and the impact of development and traffic. And we just have to keep hearing it, because once you get in office and you get in there, you're separated from the community, and you just don't understand the urgency of it until people come out and really tell you face to face. So I just have to thank you for being here. I know it takes some courage to stand up in front of a microphone in front of a bunch of people and talk, and you all did a great job. Thank you.